everyone and welcome! Now with the recent announcement and widespread availability of the Apple iPhone 12 series of smartphones, that buying a smartphone in 2020 for me has been an excruciatingly confusing endeavor. And the whole purpose of today's video is to sort of tell you the reasons why I dumped my iPhone 12 Pro in favor for this monster-sized iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now for those that don't follow my channel or haven't seen my unboxing video that I published on October 23rd for the iPhone 12 Pro, in that video I bought two phones. I took delivery of two phones. I had an iPhone 12 and an iPhone 12 Pro, and then I sort of babbled on about who the iPhone 12 Pro is really catered to and why you'd want to pay the $150 premium to go Pro. And of course, I went with the Pro version. I unboxed it, used it, shot a whole bunch of video and pictures day and night, and I was really happy with the phone. I was blown away by the OLED screen. It was absolutely stunning. The phone was super crazy fast. The audio from it was amazing, and the fact that it had a 6.1-inch screen was insanely impressive. The last phone that I actually had was an iPhone SE, or colloquially known as an iPhone 6s Mini. And while I was really happy with the iPhone 12 Pro, that towards the end of my 2-week return window that Apple had given me, that I was starting to get cold feet, and I started questioning myself on whether or not I should pay a premium on top of the existing premium that I paid for the Pro to upgrade to a Pro Max. And so fast forward to November 3rd, I punted the iPhone 12 Pro and then ordered a 12 Pro Max, and now we sit here today with the Pro Max in my hands. Why did I buy into the 12 Pro Max? Well, what I'm telling you guys is nothing new. This was actually all announced during the Apple event when they announced the iPhone 12s. But I thought about my use cases, and I thought about sort of my desires and longevity of a phone. I like to use phones for a very long time, and I like to buy the best that I can humanly afford. And I thought, well, an extra $150 premium on top of the Pro wasn't that bad. But where the differences lie between the Pro and the Pro Max is two of these cameras, have been revamped. Number one is the wide camera, or the standard camera, has a significantly improved and significantly larger imaging sensor. Apple claims that it is 47% larger in size, and that can only be accomplished with a larger chassis of the Max phone. And so with a larger sensor, you can now have larger sensing pixels on that imaging sensor. I believe the 11 Pro Max and even the iPhone 12 Pro use a 1.4 micrometer pixel, whereas on this Pro Max is 1.7. And really, that difference might not sound like a lot, but you're increasing the sensing pixel size, which means you're going to have better light sensitivity and you're going to have significant digital noise reduction in your pictures. Now, the other thing that's really cool about this wide camera and the sensor in it is that Apple has moved away from the optical image stabilization on that one camera and used a sensor shift optical stabilization technology. And sensor shift is nothing new. Minolta was actually one of the first companies to use that. But the reason why Apple went with sensor shift is because they could. It's a more sophisticated stabilization system, and it's also more agile and responsive because the sensor has less mass than the entire lens array. So that's a major improvement there. I believe Apple also changed the wide angle lens to an f1.6 aperture versus last year's 1.8. So again, you're letting in more light. And so really what that all comes down to is this wide camera on this phone can capture up to 87% more light. So the combination of the large aperture lens, the bigger imaging sensor, the larger sensing pixels, really means that you're going to get a lot more light sensitivity with less digital noise. 87% improvement, which is mind-blowing to say the least. And I never thought I took a lot of night shots, but I actually went through my photo albums and I do a lot of night pictures. So that's a major improvement. The other one is the telephoto lens. So on the iPhone 12 Pro, you've got this f2.0 50mm lens, I believe, right, which will give you 2 times optical zoom and up to 10 times digital zoom. But on the Pro Max version, they've upped the focal length on it to 65mm at f2.2. So there's a slight difference in aperture size, but don't forget that this is also a longer focal length lens. So camera-wise, massive improvements. All the other functionality is the same. And of course, the last two key points here is that on this phone, when you buy the Max version, you're now going up from a 6.1 to a 6.7 inch screen, which is 0.6 inches, and it's very noticeable. The screen is gigantic. And then last but not least, because you have a larger chassis for the phone, you now also have a larger battery. So enough yammering. I'm going to now walk you guys through some of the shots that I have taken last night with it in some low to moderate low light conditions, and I think you guys will be really impressed with how well those images turned out. So I shot a photograph of the impending sunset over a golf course. Really impressive that it's able to capture the details in the bright spots and in the not so bright areas while retaining all the detail in the snow and trees. So here's a shot of my pickup truck. The ambient lighting outside is actually extremely dark, with the only light source being from that lamp post that is located across the street in the background. Now you'll notice that the amount of detail on the truck is exceptionally good, but more importantly that there is very little digital noise in the image. It's very clean. So here's a photograph of the downtown cityscape. I really like this photo a lot. It was shot with that wide lens on the Pro Max that has the 47% larger imaging sensor on it. Now, because of the increased sensing pixel size at 1.7 micrometers, you can really tell that this thing, has really good light sensitivity while keeping digital noise to an absolute minimum. I could argue that I wouldn't even be able to shoot a photo this good or this clear with an inexpensive DSLR. I would have to likely pull out my full frame camera to get this type of clean image. So we have a photo of a giant wire mesh head sculpture in front of one of our downtown buildings. This was shot at around, I believe, 9 or 10 p.m. at night, and you can clearly see that the amount of detail in the wires is retained while virtually eliminating all traces or signs of digital noise and artifacts. Here's another alternate shot of the same wire mesh structure from the inside. It's really neat because it actually looks like there's a three-dimension effect looking back down at you, which I actually didn't notice previously until I used this phone to take that picture. So here we've got some trees in the downtown area. It's approaching the holiday seasons, and of course, I decided to see if I could, just capture an impromptu shot. Of course, it looks fantastic. So here we've got a photograph of a pedestrian bridge at night that really has some extreme lighting characteristics. We've got the extremely illuminated bridge and then pure darkness all around it. And you'll notice that, the bright areas and even the color of the bridge is exposed perfectly. That's how I remember seeing with my own eyes, while maintaining digital noise to an absolute minimum. In fact, if you look closely, you can even see some of the clouds in the sky. Again, a very clean photo, super impressive. So here we've got additional shots of more cityscape type photographs. This is actually a fairly dim pathway, but being shot with the 12 Pro Max that you can see all the details in the sidewalk, the snow, the trees, clouds, and even the buildings with no loss of detail or digital noise. Now here's another alternate shot of the river where there's a bit of color on the water. Again, tremendous amount of detail. Now I want to be clear here that the iPhone 12 series of phones can actually take really good photos as well, but the key difference being that they're likely going to be a little bit noisier, a little bit grainier with a touch of less detail in comparison to the larger Pro Max's imaging sensor. So here is a quick video test using the Pro Max. So what we have here is my pickup truck on a driveway on a dimly lit street. There's only one lamppost in the background illuminating the road. And right now we're shooting this video with the ultra wide lens. Now, obviously the quality is not very good. You can still see the truck, but it's exceptionally grainy. Better than a 6S, but not wonderful. Now switching over to the telephoto lens, The image definitely brightens up, but nonetheless, it still contains quite a bit of digital noise. You can see that on the both the dark and the bright parts of the video. So not bad, but certainly not great. Now, when we switch over to the wide lens, that has that improved imaging sensor with sensor shift stabilization and the larger 1.7 micrometer sensing pixel size, that you really see the video improve. Between the ultra wide and the telephoto, this wide lens video quality is a dramatic improvement, and this is the very reason why I wanted to upgrade to the iPhone 12 Pro Max Edition. So here is another low light video test where I am shooting the downtown cityscape. I'm currently using the ultra wide lens, and of course, just like the truck test, you see quite a bit of grain and digital noise. And while it's certainly not awful, that is very much usable. Now switching over to the wide lens with the awesome sensor, you can really see the image brighten up considerably, the noise reduce dramatically, and everything just looks better, looks cleaner. Now switching over to the telephoto lens, again, things are very bright, but then you see the return of all that digital noise and artifacting. Again, it just highlights how improved that wide-angle sensor really is in comparison to the ultra-wide and the telephoto versions. Well, there you guys have it. If you guys are even debating on buying the iPhone 12 Pro Max, don't hesitate and just go and grab one, because it's well worth every penny. If you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel, and thanks for watching.